Jnana-kosha, Vedas.
ॐ गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपवस्त्रमस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पदानः शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनम्
Shukla Yajurveda Upanishads, Jabala Upanishad. Om, that Brahman is infinite and this universe is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Then, taking the infinitude of the infinite universe, it remains as the infinite Brahman alone. Om, let there be peace in me. Let there be peace in my environment. Let there be peace in the forces that act on me. Brihaspati, the preceptor of the gods, asked the sage Yajnavalkya, which is the Kurukshetra, the famous holy place that destroys sins and protects the good, the place where the gods perform sacrifices and which is the abode of Brahman in all beings. Yajnavalkya replied, Avimukta is the Kurukshetra, the place where the gods perform sacrifices to deities and which is the abode of Brahma in all beings, in the middle of the eyebrows. Hence, wherever one goes, one shall think thus. This is the Kurukshetra, the place where the gods perform sacrifice to the deities and which is the abode of Brahma in all beings. This is the spot where when the vital airs depart from the living person, Rudra imparts the mantra Taraka Brahma to him by which, becoming immortal, he attains liberation. Hence one shall resort to the Avimukta, shall not desert the Avimukta. Brihaspati approved of the statement, saying, So it is, Yajnavalkya, verily it is so. O revered one, it is so, Yajnavalkya. Thereafter the sage Atri, son of the creator Brahma, asked of Yajnavalkya, How am I to realize the self which is infinite and unmanifest? To this Yajnavalkya replied that Avimukta, Lord Shiva as the Redeemer, is to be worshipped. The self which is infinite and unmanifest is established in not different from the Vimukta in Ishvara possessed of attributes, which is the place where Avimukta is established. He is established in between Varna and Nasi. What is meant by Varna and what by Nasi? The Varna is so called as it were words of all the faults committed by the 10 organs of perception and action. The Nasi is so named as it destroys all sins committed by the 10 organs. The place between the Varna and the Nasi is the meeting place of the upper part of the nose and the center part of the eyebrows, which is the seat of the Avimukta. That which is the well-known juncture of the eyebrows and the nose is the juncture of heaven in the form of the crown of the head and this world in the form of at the end of the chin. The knower of the Veda worship indeed this juncture, Samadhi, as Sandhya in their daily worship, that Avimukta is to be worshipped. He who knows this, that the true nature of the Avimukta, imparts the wisdom of the Avimukta, that the individual self is no other than the attributes less Brahman to this disciple. Then the disciplined students, Brahmacharyans of Yajnavalkya, asked him, Pray tell us, what is that mantra by reciting which one attains immortality? He replied, By reciting Chaturdriya, these mantras are indeed the names of Rudra to achieve immortality. By reciting these mantras, one becomes immortal. Then Janaka, the king of the Videhas, respectfully approached Yajnavalkya and requested him, "Revered sir, expound to me the tenets of renunciation." He, Yajnavalkya, then replied, "After completing the period of disciplined studentship, brahmacharya, one may become a householder. After being a householder, he may become a forest dweller, that is, become a vanaprastha. Having become a vanaprastha, he may renounce the world and thus become a mendicant monk, or alternately he may embrace renunciation from brahmacharya itself, or from the stage of a householder, or from the forest life. It can also be that a person may renounce worldly life that very day on which distaste for its dawns on him, whether he is one not observing the vows before the stage of renunciation or observe them, whether he has undergone the prescribed ablution or completing the disciplined studentship or not, whether he is one who has discontinued maintaining the sacred fire at the death of his wife, or is one who does not maintain the sacred fire, anagnika. Some lawgivers prescribe the sacrifice called Prajapatya, of which the god Brahma is the presiding deity, to a twice born before the embraces renunciation. But though thus laid down, he may not do so. He shall only perform the sacrifice in which Agni is the deity. For Agni is the vital breath prana. Thereby he does strengthen the vital breath. He shall then perform the Tridharvya sacrifice for the three forms of Agni in him, namely Sattva, Rajasa and Tamasa, are strengthened by this sacrifice. Having performed the sacrifice, he shall smell the holy fire, reciting the following mantra. O fire, this vital breath is your source. As you are born from Sutraman, you shine forth. Knowing him, the Atman, your ultimate source, may you emerge in him. May you increase our wealth. Verily, this is the source of fire, namely the vital air. So what is said by this mantra is, may you go unto your source, Swaha. Having procured the holy fire from the house of well-versed Vedic scholar in the village, he shall smell the holy dye as described previously. If he is unable to procure the holy fire, he shall offer the oblations in water. For water is verily all the gods reciting, I offer the oblations to the gods. Swaha, he shall tender the oblations, and picking up a small portion of the offered oblations which is mixed with ghee, he shall eat, as this is beneficial. The mantra of liberation, namely Om, is the essence of the three Vedas. This is shall realize. It is Brahman and it is to be worshipped. Indeed, so it is, O revered Yajnavalkya, said Janaka. Then the sage Atri asked Yajnavalkya, may I ask you, Yajnavalkya, how is one without the sacred thread a Brahman? Yajnavalkya replied, the conviction I am the self alone is his sacred thread. He shall then sip water ceremoniously thrice. This is the method enjoined on those who renounce worldly life. In the case of Kshatriyas and others not entitled to renunciation, they may seek liberation in the path of the brave who court death in the battlefield, or fast unto death as a discipline, or enter into water to rise no more, or enter fire to be burnt to ashes, or undertake the great journey in which they collapse by exhaustion. Then in the case of those entitled to renunciation, the mendicant monk wearing ochre-colored garment, with shaven head, accepting nothing excepting food for bare sustenance, being pure, injuring none in thought, word and deed, austerity, living on alms, becomes fit for realizing Brahman. If sorely afflicted by disease, he may renounce the world by mental resolve or by spoken words uttering mantras. This way of renunciation has been prescribed by Brahma, the creator, in the Vedanta. The ascetic, the sannyasin who has renounced the world, following his path, realizes Brahma. Thus indeed it is, O Reverend Yajnavalkya, appreciated Janaka. There are sages called Paramahamsas, as in the days of yore, the sages Samavartaka, Aruni, Swetaketu, Durvasa, Ribhu, Nidagha, Jadabharta, Dattatreya, Raivataka, and others, wearing no distinguishing marks, with conduct beyond the ken of worldly people, and who behaved as though bereft of their senses through perfectly sane. Discarding all these, namely the threefold staff of bamboos, the water pot, the sling to carry personal effects, the alms bowl, the cloth for purifying water, tied to the staff, tuft of hair, and sacred thread in water, by reciting Bhuswaha, the Paramahamsa shall seek the Atman. Possessing a form as one just born, unaffected by the pairs of opposites such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain, accepting nothing except bare sustenance, well established in the path of the truth of Brahman, of pure mind, receiving alms into the mouth, literally into the vessel of the belly, at the prescribed hour, in order to sustain life, becoming equanimous at gain or loss of alms, sheltering himself without an abode, in an unoccupied house, a temple, a clump of tall grass, an anthill, the shade of a tree, a potter's hut, a cottage where sacred fire is kept, sandy bank of a river, a mountain thickest or cavity, a hollow in a tree, the vicinity of a waterfall or a piece of clean ground, making no efforts in any kind of gainful activity, for free from mindness, a sense of possessiveness, ever meditating on Brahman, devoted to the self, ever intent on eradication of the good and bad karma, the sage finally gives up his body in the state of renunciation, such as is indeed a Paramahamsa. Thus ends the Upanishad. Om Tat, Brahma is infinite and this universe is infinite. The infinite proceeds from the infinite. Then taking the infinitude of the infinite universe, it remains as the infinite Brahma alone. Oh, let there be peace in me, let there be peace in my environment, let there be peace in the forces that act on me. Here ends the Jabala Upanishad belonging to the Shukla Yajurveda.